Have you ever felt like there's a battle going on inside you? This deep conflict between the person you really want to be and the things you actually find yourself doing. Well, today we're going to explore a really unique way of looking at that inner struggle, framing it almost like it's a financial market, a currency trading pair.
I mean, this quote from the Apostle Paul just nails that feeling, right? That internal friction, that frustrating gap between our best intentions and what we actually do. It's a problem that's thousands of years old, and it perfectly sets the stage for the framework we're about to unpack.
All right, so let's dive into a bit of a radical thought experiment here. What if we could model this internal conflict not just as a moral battle, but as a financial market, one with its own logic and its own pricing?
And that's a pretty wild question, isn't it? Can the language of trading, charts, trends, value, actually give us a new lens, a new way to understand our own behavior and character? Let's explore this idea together.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this analogy, we first need a super quick crash course on how a currency pair actually works in the foreign exchange market, or Forex.
So in any trading pair, like say the euro versus the US dollar, that first currency is called the base. Just think of it as the anchor, right? It's the one thing you're pricing. The second currency is the quote, and its only job is to tell you how much of it you need to buy one unit of the base. It's all about their relative value to each other.
Now here's where we map it onto our inner world. In this framework, the spirit is the base currency. It's the anchor, the core principle that sets our true value. The flesh, then, is the quote currency. It's that reactive, fluctuating part of us, our appetites and behaviors, whose price totally depends on its relationship to the spirit.
And this is the absolute core idea here. Just like a strong US dollar changes the exchange rate with the euro, a strengthening spirit fundamentally changes your internal economy. It literally reprices the power and the pull of your impulses.
So what this all means is that our inner life can trend in one of two directions. When the spirit, our base currency, gets stronger, the chart of our inner life goes up. It becomes more expensive, if you will, for the flesh to dictate what we do. But when the flesh dominates, that chart trends down, and impulsive behavior becomes cheaper and much, much easier to just do.
And here's where it gets really fascinating, because this framework isn't just some abstract metaphor. It actually gives us a way to read our own patterns of behavior, almost like a financial analyst reading a stock chart. And if you think about it, the Bible itself kind of gives us the data points for these charts. The fruit of the Spirit from Galatians 5, love, joy, peace. That looks like a stable, healthy uptrend. It's consistent, it's positive. But the works of the flesh? Well, that looks like a chaotic, volatile chart, just full of sharp spikes and totally unpredictable swings. That idea of a chaotic chart, that connects perfectly to the financial concept of volatility. The source argues that the flesh, as a system, is just inherently unstable. It's prone to massive overreactions, to these emotional spikes, especially when things get tough. And that's exactly why it acts like the weaker, more reactive quote currency in our pair.
All right, but any trader will tell you, you can't just look at the last 5 minutes of a chart and know what's going on. To really understand the big picture, you have to separate the long-term trends from all the short-term noise.
And the exact same thing applies here. Our lower time frame charts, those are our daily moments, a flash of anger, a fleeting temptation, right? That's the noise. But our higher time frame charts, those show the real story, our overall character, our core identity, and the real direction of our transformation over months and years.
And listen, this is such a powerful and frankly reassuring insight. Having a bad day or giving in to an impulse at flesh spike on the short-term chart, it doesn't automatically mean your long-term upward spiritual trend is broken. A single down day doesn't suddenly end a bull market.
But this brings us to an even deeper, more subtle concept from the trading world, and this chart shows it perfectly. It's called divergence. It's what happens when the price on the chart is moving one way, but some underlying indicator is quietly moving the other way, signaling a hidden reality that you can't see on the surface. In our spiritual lives, this can play out in two major ways. First, you could have outward success, everything looks great to the world, but inwardly, your passion and your spiritual momentum are fading. That's a bearish divergence. Or you could be in a season of outward struggle, facing hardship, while inwardly your character is being forged and strengthened like steel. That's a hidden bullish divergence. Okay, so this all leads to the big practical question, right? If the spirit is our base currency, the anchor of our inner world, how in the world do we strengthen it?
How do we support that long-term upward trend? And the source gives us a really powerful idea here, that spiritual disciplines, things like prayer, study, community, they act like an execution algorithm. Now, this isn't about being robotic. It's about having a structured, repeatable system that automatically helps you close the gap between your good intentions and your actual behavior.
And this is not a new idea at all. The Apostle Paul used the analogy of an athlete in training, someone who disciplines their body for a very specific purpose. It's all about a structured regimen, not just relying on willpower in the heat of the moment. It's purposeful, algorithmic training. So what does this algorithm actually do for you? Well, think about it in market terms. It reduces slippage. That's the gap between the action you want and the action you actually get. It constrains your impulsive trades. It builds the strength of your long-term trend. And most importantly, it creates stability, especially when the market gets volatile.
And so that's where we'll leave it. This whole framework isn't just an interesting theory. It's a diagnostic tool. It invites us to look at the chart of our own lives and ask ourselves a pretty critical question. What set of rules, what repeated practices, what algorithm is my life actually running on?